And I got it and I understood it, but after I'd kind of got a stack of literature and I looked at all on the spine, it was like man. I was like, well, I'm a woman. Surely there's a different perspective. And so I went on the hunt for that. And like, it took me down some different routes of like, not just business. There were other books that I've kind of read, which is all about diving into European mythology and religion, when you kind of like step back past current, like now religions, and you look at the mythology across Europe. Women are the like matriarchal head of these myths, and they're the strong beasts. Whereas if you go like to now, it's all quite masculine on a kind of religious and like mythological type thing. So that was quite interesting to sort of like, I went down there and then I came back. But yeah, I would say it's really, I think everyone needs to read a bit of both. Otherwise you're kind of like, you're polarized.
I love that. Where it's nice to have a depth of study where you can appreciate that too. You know, it does, you know, if you've never read a book before in your life, then the idea of reading thousands can be challenging, right? And one step at a time. But those of us who've been in the game, I love that. If I look at the spines of the books that I've read and I'm, you know, looking through it, it's like, oh man, you're right. Most of these are written from a masculine perspective and a masculine dominated environment. And we then lose out on the other side of strengths that exist from a very different perspective. So I'm going to be diving into that. We're going to come right back. We'll be diving into your vision. And we're going to talk about why it is so important for visionaries and leaders out there to consider the value of the women in your lives, women in leadership, women as entrepreneurs and beyond. There's so much we're going to gain out of this if we will allow our hearts and our minds and our guts to listen. All right. Welcome in to Vision Pros Live with Jackson Callum. I'm your show host. We will be doing interviews for visionary entrepreneurs and guest leaders who are building fantastic visions out there. Hey, what's up? And welcome into another episode of Vision Pros Live. I'm your show host, Jackson Callum, founder and CEO of First Class Business. And I am so excited to have a super deep leader on stage today. Hepsie Goddin has impressed me considerably with her depth of understanding related to not just feminine and masculine energy, but leadership as a whole, universally, and realizing that there's so many undiscovered opportunities to rise up as business leaders and to drive better results. I've felt that in her presence in both times that we've met. And so talking about her vision is going to be huge. I want to give you some insight into what she said to us before she came on the show, though. So when we asked, where did her vision come from? What circumstance helped bring it to life? Her response was, this is all about empowering female leadership. That doesn't mean making females or women more powerful than men. Empowering is a process of helping lift up and strengthen those around us. And those of you out there who have a business, whether they are your co-founders or they're just getting started in your brand, it's important to empower the people that we work with. So redefining success in business is, in terms of women, she says, is about learning to work. Let me read that again. Redefining success in business without working like men. Discussing how women have adopted a masculine persona in business in order to thrive, and how we shouldn't worship burnout, and how women no longer need to prove themselves. Instead, successful women need to leverage their influence in business to create better businesses for not only themselves, but for future generations. Establishing awareness and a desire for change to move from a masculine business strategy to creating their own rhythm, incorporating more feminine ways of working. She's a female leadership expert and expert in marketing and business strategy consultant as well. I'm excited to bring her on stage. Before I do, I've always got to give some additional resources to you guys. So one, in the form of one of the powerhouse women in the world, Melissa Gray of The Law Spot. I absolutely love working with her. She's been amazing to have. I almost canceled her show because I don't like most lawyers. I was like, I don't really want a lawyer on my show. They're just going to be pretentious and argue with me. Nope. Couldn't have been further from the truth. Melissa is an amazing leader who knows how to listen to business owners and simplify legal. I went through a $20,000 legal trademarking battle myself for a brand name I owned in Restaurant Connect many years ago. I could have avoided that had I just found legal counsel that I really enjoyed and who was actually there to protect me. So definitely check out the Law Spot and see what they're doing with their blueprint. The Spot on Business Blueprint is a fantastic tool to simplify legal for yourself before you even talk to her entity. And they're all about firm protection in addition to strategic partnerships and helping you grow and connect with other brands that can help you maximize your revenues as a brand. Moving beyond the Law Spot, in fact, well, thank you, Cynthia. Cynthia's got the legal audit on here as well. Melissa's doing a great job of creating different systems to help you move your own brand forward without engaging with a firm as well. So go check out those resources. If you feel inspired, you might contact her and see what it's like to work with them. Then there's the Healing Institute with Permilia Param. Permilia has an extreme depth of wisdom based on her decades of being involved in health and wellness. And once again, another phenomenal leader. It's like Promote Women Day. I love this. So the Healing Institute's got different categories for users who might have different types of emotional or health or physical needs, from emotional healing, energy healing, integrated healing, therapies, and coaching. You might need a male coach. You might need a psychologist or a psychotherapist. It's sometimes hard to know how to get the help that we do need. So she's putting together a directory and a resource list of practitioners. If you're a practitioner, you can register today on her site. And if you're a client or somebody who might be a prospective client, you can also register on this. She has a long way to go with her digital identity for this brand. We recognize that. She knows that. And that's what I love about her as leader. She knows that in order to really provide this type of a resource to people worldwide, where people can just dive in and get the help that they need, she's got to dedicate a serious amount of infrastructure to building out the Healing Institute. Our goal and hope with promoting brands like this is it's not because she paid me. It's not because they've earned this spot, so to speak, by being the absolute best in the market. It's because they're leaders who I know are going to continue to build what is necessary. And she's got a massive legacy to leave behind. And I'm excited to see her continue to build that out. So check out the Healing Institute. If you're a potential practitioner who wants to be listed in that, then don't hesitate to start the registration process. Then there's the Water Project. The Water Project is, again, not an entity of mine by any sense of the imagination. Just when I came across my eyes and my heart, I was like, man, I got to tell people about this. There's millions of people in the world who don't have access to clean drinking water. I've never experienced that in my life. I've always had access to what I need in terms of water. I love that the Water Project transparently showcases you where your money is being put to use. So for instance, you get to pick a community, and when you pick a community and donate to it, the Water Project will send you an email with updates. You get to see the photos of that project come to fruition. There are millions of people in Africa that do not have access to clean drinking water. And when I see this picture of these kids, it always reminds me of my kids celebrating Christmas on Christmas Day, yet they're there celebrating access to basic needs such as water. If we can pull together resources and help out, fantastic. If financially you're not in a position to contribute, but you are listening to the show, my hope is that you'll think of somebody who might be able to help out the Water Project and just invite them to contribute to it. You never know how far the ripple effect of your good efforts will go, but we've got 8 billion people in this world to help, and I hope you join me in that initiative. If you have another initiative that you'd rather see us focus our attention on, it's not a competition. Please drop that in the comments. Let us know, and we'll do our best to contribute and support the initiatives that you come across in your life as well. Without further ado, Hepsie, thank you so much for joining me on Vision Pros Live. Welcome in.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Absolutely. We are going to dive right into your vision. What is the vision for the people that you serve?
Okay, my vision for the people that I serve is that they go to work and spend their time with a knowledge that they are doing it for themselves, and that they are not just on the hamster wheel. They are going to work with intention, and they're not just doing what they're doing based on to fulfill other people's expectations. They understand why they are there, not only for their personal why, but also for their business why. So I want to support successful female leaders to be able to make their business better, which in turn makes their life better, and then they can be in a business and live a better life.
Fantastic. Now, I want to let everybody know I did my best to match your hairstyle for this episode. I'm catching you. So you look like my long lost sister at this point, just a better looking one. And so these people, right? There's a lot of people stuck on the hamster wheel. There's a lot of people that are going to jobs that they're not a huge fan of. There's entrepreneurs who get stuck in the process too. Let's tie this together with the rhythm of masculine and feminine energy as it pertains to business strategy, right? So where does it look like on the other side? Once you've found your alignment, once things are going well, what's that side look like to you?
Okay, so when you kind of have you understand your why and what you're doing for why you're going to work, when you look at a business, you need to understand and observe your habits a lot of the time, to make sure that they're in alignment with what you want, but also from a masculine and feminine point. So for example, are you focusing on linear growth only or cyclical growth? Are you all about competition or are you about collaboration? Are you about independence or individualism, like individualism or collaboration and working together again? Do you profit worship or are you looking at gratitude? Is it you looking at scarcity and abundance? Now, the Proposals for a Feminine Economy by Jennifer Armbrust looks at those in polar opposites. What I am proposing is that it's like a yin yang, like being really masculine is great at some point in time, but you need to be aware of that. And I don't think a lot of us are aware of our behaviors and our habits. And what I want to do is create curiosity so you can be aware of a situation, build in the pause and understand where you need to be along the rhythm of being masculine and feminine. Not one is ever better than the other. It's about being appropriate and having awareness and curiosity about that, because I just don't think people do. I think most people are programmed and are just doing.
I love that. I have to take some notes because I just learned a lot. You said awareness and curious. That's the word. I was like, don't lose this word, Jackson. We got it. So I'm a big fan of, I guess my definition of abundance has grown with my years of maturity. Right. Where I've accidentally all encompassed the reality that abundance doesn't really exist unless you are prepared for the scarcity realities that life can present. But you're right. When you're initially learning these concepts, it's one or the other, that you kind of have an understanding of. And it takes time. It takes patience. It takes diligence to figure out how they both come together. And if you dedicate that time and patience and diligence, you have a more holistic approach. So it's like preparing for the worst while also being able to anticipate the best, right? Not ignoring one or the other. Am I onto something here?
Yeah, totally. And I think that the women that I want to support are generally kind of like in their 40s and 50s, and they've, in a word, like fought their way to the top. They've created success by adopting a masculine persona because that's what success looked like. And what I want to do is create awareness and curiosity for them to be able to create a better life and business for themselves, but also the understanding that the next generation coming up isn't going to work like that. So if we don't change the way that we work, the gap between the next generation and established businesses is going to just widen, and there'll be like this gap in the not precipice, that's the wrong word, canyon between established businesses and new business and a new way of working, and it's our duty to be able to bring people up and the next generation, but we need to listen and we need to understand them as well.
I love that. And I'm trying too hard on my end. I'm like selfishly diving, like, God, teach me, Hepsie. But you're right. This is more for women. Like your audience rather is more of the women. But I'm like, let's. So
Yeah, I'm a market. I've got a marketing background, so my audience I've niched so that I can talk. But this whole kind of philosophy and talk is it goes for everyone really.
right.
Like there's a lot of men that are alpha and they are like stuck in alpha and could probably move like across different sort of areas in business, whether it's money, people, or planet, and look at sort of like softening almost.
Oh, it's huge. It's so it would be so helpful for so many leaders out there to be able to take that back seat, shut the trap a little bit, and listen to these concepts that you got. So I'm all for it. I'm leading the way for the men out there. Like, let's go, Hepsie, help us out. All right. So what about you? What's your vision for your life?
So my life, I just a sort of like a little history. I went back to work as senior leadership team when both my children were 3 months old. So I've lived the life of the woman that I am trying to support. I've also run my own business, product-based business for over a decade, and had quite a few life curveballs thrown at me. So I've then kind of, I think, whilst I was trying to be a very successful person and be a parent at the same time, my brain was full. Whereas a few years ago, during COVID, I kind of was working, but I also had found capacity to help make scrubs for the medical teams that couldn't get scrubs. And when that was no longer needed, I realized that I had capacity to relearn, to find out my why, my wants, and my value. So my vision for me is to grow my coaching and consultancy business at the same time as developing my own, bettering my own businesses, and to walk the path maybe a few steps ahead of the women that I want to support, but can always be learning. I'm walking the path a few steps ahead. I've kind of like push back the overgrowth, and like I'm like come with me, but I constantly want to be learning. I constantly want to progress. I definitely put myself into a bit of a security, safety, scarcity box, and that's now gone, and I'm ready to move forward and take people with me.
It's super cool. I love what you're able to do with that. I don't want to do the traditional like buzzword condescension process of like, if you're not eating your own medicine, then you're not doing the right thing. But no, if I'm a heart surgeon, I don't need to experience heart surgery just to be a great heart surgeon. I don't have to go through that experience. But in your case, that just happens to align perfectly with where you're at, where you're actually, pioneering this path on behalf of women, and it's amazing. That's we do that in our brand, but again, there's other agencies that if you can hire great people to run your YouTube ads who've worked for Home Depot or Nike that have spent $10 million for those brands, but their agency is not at a process, not at a position where they could run that for themselves. It doesn't make them bad at what they do. It's just a different type of leadership. So that's neat that you happen to be one of those who does pioneer the way forward. Speaking of pioneering the way forward, let's reflect back. What is what's the absolute worst leadership experience that you've ever had?
Okay, worst leadership experience is being micromanaged without being given expectations. So I was literally almost felt like you were in a straitjacket. It's the I just couldn't do anything right. I would be kind of told that this was potentially what was going to be needed. So you kind of start to work and you set the team to work, but then they would come in and be like, there would be no autonomy. And it's like, well, what are you paying me for?
I wasn't your leader at the time, was I?
No.
I've been there. I've been that bad leader before. Okay. Yes, that is so debilitating. What did it lead to?
It led to well, I think kind of like in hindsight, which is always a great thing, it led to me coming back. It led me wanting to prove myself, but it also led to me starting up my own business in at 5 to 9, whilst being at work 9 to 5 and having small babies, to prove a point that I could do what I wanted to do. That if you told me X, I could do it. You just need to give me that, like, that map, like tell me to get to that point, and I'll get there for you. And I think also in hindsight, when it's all about learning, isn't it? It's like you don't know what's going on in that leader's life at that time. And I think that I didn't have the capacity, the knowledge to be able to react in a wise way and be like, why is this person behaving like that? Maybe rather remove the work and see what's going on behind the scenes, and maybe we can work together better. Right, where it was classic hierarchy. I was like, oh, don't tell me what to do, or because you're not telling me how, like, where you want to go, sort of thing.
Did you stay there, or did you leave eventually?
Fortunately, I was made redundant from my post.
Redundant. So teach me what that means in
redundancy
English.
Okay, so redundancy is basically they decided that they no longer needed the role, so they got rid of him.
Yep. And that was a good thing or a bad thing?
It was a really good thing in the end. Like I think I had come to the end of my time anyway there. I'd been there for several years and felt like I was going round in circles, and it gave me the time and effort to spend time with my children, because I think I was basically being pulled in loads of directions. And it gave me the ability to be able to set up my own business and be there for my kids at the same time, because you've got flexibility. And that was like 12 years ago.
That's priceless.
Yeah.
That's priceless. A lot of people never get that, or they get it and it's too late. So yeah. That's really neat. Thank you for sharing that. You have another thought before we move into the best leadership experience?
No, I'm good.
Okay. I was like, you might be on the edge of something. So what's the best leadership experience that you've ever had?
I think the best leadership experience is, it's not necessarily a leadership experience directly to me, but there is someone that I work with and I follow, and her name is like Lisa Johnson, and she is the most honest person. She's been incredibly successful over the past 6 years with regards to building her business in the UK. She's one of the most prominent female online business women, and she's so her integrity is amazing, and she basically tells you how it is, and if you make mistakes, that's okay. If you do this, that's okay. This is what she's learned. And I think the whole thing about her.
Okay, yeah. I gotta make sure. I was like, you got me all sorts of interested now. You can go ahead.
Yeah. So she just her story is that she was £35,000 in debt, and she's now earned millions and millions in revenue. And she again has a similar kind of she shows people her path. This is what she's done. And yeah, I just think that from to being integral and being honest and open and learning from your mistakes as a leader is one of the best things that you can do, and just showing that you're human.
Cool. Well, thank you for putting yet another amazing person on our path to study. That's fantastic. And hopefully we get Lisa the chance to see that she's got a massive fan in you. Do you know her personally yet? You don't know her personally yet, right?
Well, I have I'm obviously I've chatted online and stuff. I've not met her face to face. So
okay. Well, I won't push it. But our team might. So we'll leave that right where it's at. And that's super cool. I would say the same for Gary Vaynerchuk. I would say the same for Pat Flynn of Smart Passive Income. These are two people I've never met. They're just outside my personal circle, and they're people that have been amazing leaders who I'd love one day to meet. So glad you bring that up. Let's talk about your most powerful lesson. So if this was the last chance, Hepsie, that you had to share a powerful lesson with visionary leaders, what lesson can other visionaries learn from your experience?
From my personal experience, obviously I work with regards to the masculine and feminine rhythm, but the first step to being able to know that is to understand your why. And so many people, when you ask why do you spend your most precious asset of time at work, they will say money. And when you dig down and find out what the money does and how it supports maybe your family or does that it's understanding the deeper why. And I think that is the most powerful lesson. I was, like I've said before, brought up in like corporate thinking, very masculine thinking. The money was always really important, despite having I've got a degree in fashion design and business studies, so I am quite creative, but I went into kind of business, and business was all about money. And I think that money is a really important part, but in order to get the balance, you need to know your why, and your business needs to know why, so that everything you do, all the decisions that you make are in alignment with that.
I love that. That aligns perfectly with where I got into business. I was a unique business person in that I didn't get into business because of the money. I got into it because of an experience I had in South America while I was on a mission, and knew that I needed to get into business in order to help as many towns like the one I was serving as possible. And while it sounds altruistic, I got to pay the bills for my family too. You know, it's easy to get lost in all the aspects of life and temporal needs, etc. But I can agree and validate the point for those of you listening out there. I would never replace the fact that since the time I was 19 years old, I've lived 100% of my focus on not the money, on the outcome, on the purpose, on the passion. And that's one of my favorite strengths, I would say, of life. So those of you looking to do it, you know, you end up with a tremendous level of self-respect. You end up with a tremendous level of peace that nobody else can take away from you, no matter how hard life is. So with that said, we're going to dive into the rhythm of masculine and feminine business strategy. For those people out there who have a familiarity with masculinity and femininity and how those things come together, how does that relate to business strategy, Hepsie?
So, well, it's when, say, if you have a vision or you've got a project that you've got to do, a lot of people would be, if you're in a highly masculine business, it would be looking at lack. We can't do this, we've not got enough time, we can't, rather than actually, oh, this is an amazing opportunity, how can we do this, what's the best way that we can kind of maximize this without having to think about the amount of money that it's going to take, what would be the best outcome that we would like to create, how can we do that, or who can do that for us, rather than basically like really restricting yourself. I think another thing as well is the whole linear growth versus cyclical growth. We are beings that are led by seasons, and if there was constantly summer, there would be drought. I think we need to have the whole spring, summer, autumn, winter attitude to business, where so you rest, you reflect, you sow, and then you reap, so that you then don't burn out.
Wow. I'm writing that down. I guess I'll ask some questions while I'm just from the angles I'm benefiting from on this. So, well, as soon as you said linear versus cyclical, my brain and heart started to think through like I guess my obvious points of it, but I started thinking about a woman's body and how y'all have cycles, related to fertility, and well, maybe that's why and how this process of growth is referred to as being feminine in nature, maybe not. But now you brought up some other new points to it with the seasonality of a potential drought with a continuous summer. I live in Texas. I can relate to that a lot. We have a lot of dry years. But you mentioned in business, rest. You mentioned a few other aspects of
reflect. So you
reflect.
rest and reflect. So reflection on what you've achieved. You can't be going all the time unless you've got a business where you have departments that do the same thing and are there ready to kind of like step in at the same time, almost like in a sort of like a military sort of procedure sort of thing. I don't know. It's just, you need to be able to go, right, team, this is amazing. Look at what we've achieved. Let's reflect on what we've done. What have we learned? What's gone right? What's gone wrong? And what will we do next time? And give yourself some time to process like that. You can't be on all the time.
Right. And have your balance, and it's so important to have your cake and eat it too. Is what I hear you saying. And rather than saying you can't do it, no, you can. If a ski resort can do it, right, where they're shut down for certain seasons, the rest of us can do it too, but we have to be willing to set certain boundaries in order to achieve that. And you're saying the byproduct of setting those boundaries and making time for resting and reflecting is actually a positive outcome for the business, correct?
Huge, because it allows you to potentially be more efficient, because your team are going to be more energized, and when they're more energized, they will have better ideas. They will contribute in a better way, rather than if you're constantly almost like draining them, then you're not going to get the full capacity out of them all of the time, and you shouldn't expect that either.
Oh, that's so difficult. Letting go of expectations. Thank you, Shakespeare, for the quote that helped me. Expectation is the root of all heartache. And 2, the E-Myth, for talking about the story of Harry, and I don't remember the other individual, but these people who came in, did amazing things for the business owners they were working with, burnt out, eventually left because they burnt out. And now you're stuck as a business owner with a whole bunch of procedures, resources, and templates that have been optimized and changed and scattered information, but now you don't know what to do because you lost the people who are helping you pull it all together. So yes, there's a lot of wisdom in that process. Now, you talked about masculine and feminine energy from a point of lack versus opportunity. It surprises me how many leaders in the business world are so slow to look at opportunity, and it's so fast to say, I can't afford that. I know we're not ready for that. And they shut down conversations before they even think through or ask questions. What are some of the pitfalls that you see the women you work with, I guess anybody you work with, set up for themselves as limiting beliefs, and how can we stop ourselves in our tracks from shutting down opportunities before they happen?
I think from a female coaching point of view, there's almost I'm not worthy, I can't do that attitude, and that's what I've learned from my kind of experience, and also sort of my knowledge gathering, is that women need to have support, because it's very easy for us to go back to our mindset that's kept us, the mindset that's got us to the most successful place that we've ever been, because we've behaved like a man, and that's what people wanted. And why should we change? Because that feels safe and that feels like home. But actually, if I have a look what I really, really want, I need to change. So what women really need is the support to be able to sort of like guide them, and be okay with making mistakes, because I think that again is another kind of like hyper masculine thing. It's like, if you make mistakes, it's seen as a weakness. Well, actually no, if you make mistakes, you can learn from them and move on. But I definitely, from a female leadership point of view, I know that it's very easy to have a look at the things that I should do on paper, but I'll go back to what I've done before because that feels really safe, and because the new things feel scary. So you have to kind of understand that, have the support, but also like take it in small steps so that it can evidence itself as well.
Mm-hmm. I love it. So let's dive into this. All right. So you just said women need support in business.
Yeah.
I'm going to throw the heaviest haymaker, the biggest atomic bomb I can at men in business as well. We are not immune to this reality. We need support too. We all need support for our businesses. Look no further than the wonderful, timeless movie, The Lion King, and Scar, who thought he could do it all himself. And he did. He did it. He was doing it, but he completely ruined the lands, right? He was going to go hungry just like everybody else within a matter of months or years. And that I know it's just a Disney story, but look at all the businesses around you. 96% fell within 10 years, 4% barely survive. We don't win alone. We've got to get the support that we need. I'm grateful that you said women often struggle with the I am not worthy and I can't do that. I think a lot of men I know go the opposite direction of that. They have this inferiority complex where they act and posture like, well, they're totally worthy. And they should get it all. And they assume, well, I can do everything. Right. There's like the opposite side of it. Both.
I think there's like a quote or a study or something, whereas if you look at a job application, a woman needs to be able to tick off everything to be able to apply, whereas a bloke will just see one thing and be, oh yeah, I can do all of that. That's kind of like the analogy of like
Yes, it's so true too. As a man, I can say it's so true. My first job, they said, "Can you do this PowerPoint?" I was like, "Yes." And I went home and I said, "Honey, what's a PowerPoint? Help me make money." Like she taught me how to do it, but like getting beyond the limiting beliefs, doesn't matter which side of that spectrum of limiting belief we're on. The centered harmony is we need teams, right? We need to work with people who can help us get out of our own way and help us see beyond the perspectives that by ourselves, we just don't have the full answer.
Completely. And I think it goes like to another level as well, as within in your same industry or service. There's I again was educated and brought up within business about competition, and I'm never going to share my secrets. I'm not going to tell anybody about what I'm doing. We've got to do it on our own, then we'll go out and see whether people want it or not. I think that from a kind of collaboration within your own sector and within your own industry, I'd love to start seeing kind of like more of that, because you can only do what you can do, and they can only do what they can do. And actually, if your sector is like striving to get to X, actually coming together is going to be much more of a beneficial, and actually your quantum leap to where everybody wants to be.
Even outside of the sector, again, another important variable there is going within and going without. I like having those perspectives simultaneously before I take steps, because then I can see the step from the left side and the right side, so to speak. I was talking to a business owner today about how some industries, such as law firms, they don't have as big of a problem with collecting pay from their clients typically, because their clients are terrified of not paying them, right? But you get a woman entrepreneur who's a life coach, and she's super sensitive to the needs of those that she's serving. Maybe she's a people pleaser. She might have a ton of outstanding invoices that she's never collected on. And people don't have the same threat or fear of that individual. And in fact, therein can take advantage of that situation a little bit too much. Go ahead.
Yeah.
You got a thought on that?
And that's where, like, when you're looking at masculine and feminine, you've got someone who's quite feminine within her, like the coaching, but she needs to adopt a more masculine approach when it comes to sort of like certain elements.
The proper system instead of the approach. I couldn't do it, honestly. Like I would need, I need to have a collections agency in place. Right. If I try to change who I am and try to change how I help people, that's going to have a massive effect on my identity and how I feel day to day. But that's why we need the support in business. And it doesn't matter, female, male, we all need it. It was a phenomenal thought. Thank you. This segment, I know, is going to be so helpful for business owners out there who often feel like they want to go the solopreneur route. And solopreneur, it has a synonym that goes along with it, entrepreneur, for a reason. It's not, it's too hard to do it alone. I don't recommend that path personally. So Hepsie, we're going to be adding in action steps as well. For those of you listening in, we're going to have the action steps below on the landing page so you can take further steps with Hepsie and figure out what program she has to offer. Of course, you can connect with us on social media as well. We'd love to see you guys like, comment, share, subscribe, of course, to the show. And if you have any specific needs in relation to your business growth, in relation to your strategy, then don't hesitate to reach out to either one of us. Is there any final thoughts you want to share before we wrap up today, Hepsie?
I would just like any business leader to take 5 minutes out of their day and just kind of question and create awareness and curiosity about how they approach business and their whys and their wants. I think it's very easy for us all to sort of like be on the hamster wheel every now and again. We should do it almost like quarterly, ideally, but if it's annually, just to take stock of what you're doing and why you're doing it, and are you going in the right direction?
I love it. And this has hit me. You hit me twice now with this awareness and curiosity path. I'm going to be diving in on the curiosity side more often. We are trying to do that on a weekly basis at First Class Business. And with our team, our recap days on Fridays, we do what's called a level up calm down meeting, where we're not allowed to talk about anything intense or high anxiety. We have an hour and a half to be in a break room together on Zoom. And it's one of our ways to kind of rest and reflect, while also making sure that we try to use that time as well to go over what victories do we have as a team, starting with the newest person to the most senior, hearing what their ideas are, what they come up with, and any doubts that exist. And we've been doing that now. We've been doing Level Up Calm Down for over a year. We started to do it with the gratitude and the doubts thing with the new person leading about 12 weeks ago. It's been phenomenal. Oh, it's been a massive change.
Practicing gratitude in business is just it's brilliant personally, but in business, it just like brings everyone together. And like, even if it's just a small thing, like someone got the coffee machine like mended, it's like, that's a
big thing. That's a big thing. Go get the health stuff done. Yes.
But it gives you some purpose. Like the gratitude, you need to have that.
It's huge. So Vision Pros, thanks for joining us. Let us know what you loved, what you didn't like about the episode. All that's super helpful. And we will see you on the next show, everybody. Have a fantastic rest of your week. Bye-bye. Thank you for being here today. I'm really happy that you tuned in to Vision Pros Live. I'm looking forward to seeing your reactions as these episodes continue to move forward.